Welcome to Boomers. On this channel, we don't just talk about music, we reveal the stories behind the heart of a global superstar. This time, a story that Bruno Mars rarely shares opens an old wound that has never truly healed. Behind the smiles, the grand stages, and the cheers of millions of fans, there is one name that always makes him fall silent and cry. Bruno Mars has spoken about the love of his mother, a love so deep it can never be forgotten. A mother who fought an extraordinary war in her life, struggling tirelessly, singing and dancing not only on stage but also in real life for her children. From her hands and her embrace, Bruno's talent began to grow from an early age, eventually shaping him into the gifted artist loved by so many people around the world. Everything he is today, he says, is because of his mother, but fate took her far too soon. Bruno Mars's mother, Bernadette Hernandez, passed away at the age of 55 in Honolulu, Hawaii, in June 2013 due to a brain aneurysm. Since that day, every memory of his mother has brought Bruno Mars to tears. Why was Bernadette such a defining figure in his life and career? What struggles did she truly endure for Bruno's future? And why does the pain still feel so real even now? Stay with Boomers, because this story is not just about loss. It is about a mother's love that changed everything, and an emotional legacy that lives on forever in every note Bruno Mars sings. The story of Bruno Mars can never be told without speaking the name of his mother. Long before the world knew him as a global superstar, long before the lights, the awards, and the standing ovations, Bruno was simply a little boy standing backstage, watching a woman who carried music not just in her voice, but in her soul. That woman was Bernadette Hernandez. Born into a family where music was not a choice but a way of breathing, Bernadette lived her life surrounded by rhythm and melody. She was a dancer, a singer, and above all, a fighter. Life did not offer her an easy path. Behind her bright smile and powerful stage presence was a woman who understood struggle, sacrifice, and perseverance. Yet she never allowed hardship to silence her joy. Instead, she turned pain into performance and struggle into strength. From the moment Bruno Mars could walk, he was already immersed in this world. He did not learn music from textbooks or formal classrooms. First, he learned it by watching his mother rehearse, by listening to her sing, by feeling the vibration of bass through the floor as she danced. Bernadette was not just his mother. She was his first teacher, his first inspiration, and his first audience. Many people see Bruno Mars as a man born with natural talent, but those closest to him know the truth. Talent does not bloom on its own. It needs nurturing, patience, and belief. Bernadette saw something special in her son long before anyone else did. When others might have seen a child playing dress-up or mimicking adults, she saw potential. She encouraged him, supported him, and placed him on stages where he could shine, even when it meant pushing herself harder to make ends meet. There were nights when Bernadette performed while exhausted, smiling through pain, because her children were watching. She believed that example was more powerful than instruction. She showed Bruno what it meant to love music, to respect the audience, and to give everything on stage no matter how tired or afraid you felt inside. As Bruno grew older, the bond between mother and son grew deeper. He became fiercely protective of her, proud of her talent, and endlessly grateful for her sacrifices. Friends and family recall how Bruno often spoke about his mother with admiration, describing her as his hero. Even after fame found him, even after his name was known across continents, he remained, at heart, a son who wanted to make his mother proud. But life has a cruel way of changing everything in a single moment. In June 2013, the world stopped for Bruno Mars. Bernadette Hernandez passed away suddenly, at the age of 55 due to a brain aneurysm in Honolulu, Hawaii. There was no long goodbye, no final conversation to prepare his heart. One moment she was there, and the next, she was gone. For Bruno, the loss was not just devastating, it was shattering. Those who saw him during that time say he became quieter, more withdrawn. The laughter that once came easily now carried a shadow. Music which had always been his refuge, became both a comfort and a reminder of what he had lost. Every note echoed her voice. Every stage reminded him of the woman who first brought him there. Bruno Mars has never hidden the fact that remembering his mother makes him cry. Even years later, interviews that mention Bernadette often end with his voice breaking or his eyes filling with tears. Fame did not harden him. Success did not erase grief. Instead, loss became something he carried quietly, woven into his songs, his performances, and his silences. Some fans began to notice that certain performances felt heavier, more emotional. They sensed that behind the powerful vocals and flawless choreography, Bruno was pouring something deeply personal into his art. Many believe that music became his way of speaking to his mother, of telling her everything he never got the chance to say. In moments when the crowd sings along, when thousands of voices echo his lyrics, it is as if Bruno is no longer alone. It is as if his mother is there too, watching from somewhere unseen, smiling the way she always did when he stepped into the spotlight. Bernadette Hernandez's legacy is not written in headlines or awards, but in the man her son became. She lives on in his discipline, his humility, his respect for music, and his unwavering dedication to his craft. Every time Bruno Mars steps on stage, every time he sings with raw emotion, her spirit moves with him. This is not just a story of a superstar and his loss. This is the story of a mother whose love shaped a global icon, a woman whose sacrifices built a foundation strong enough to carry a dream to the world, and a son who, no matter how far he travels, never forgets where his music truly began. After the loss of his mother, time no longer moved the same way for Bruno Mars. Days passed, shows continued, schedules demanded his presence, but something inside him remained frozen. In June 2013, the world expected the same dazzling performer, the same bright smile, the same unstoppable energy. What the world did not see was the quiet war happening inside him. Every time the lights dimmed and the music began, grief did not arrive loudly. It came in silence. It came in empty hotel rooms after concerts, in long flights where memories replayed endlessly, in moments when applause faded and reality returned. Bruno often found himself reaching for his phone, almost instinctively, as if to call his mother to tell her about a performance, a new song, a standing ovation, only to remember that the voice he longed to hear was gone forever. Those closest to him say that Bruno rarely spoke about his pain openly in the beginning. Instead, he carried it privately, choosing to honor his mother through discipline and dedication. He worked harder than ever, rehearsed longer, pushed himself further, not out of ambition, but out of love. Every performance became an offering. Every song became a quiet conversation with the woman who gave him everything. Music, once a playground of joy, transformed into a sacred space. When Bruno sang, he was no longer just entertaining an audience, he was remembering. He was grieving. He was surviving. There were moments on stage when his voice trembled, when his eyes glistened under the spotlight. Fans noticed. They felt it. They may not have known the details, but they sensed the depth of emotion behind each note. Something had changed. His performances were no longer just impressive, they were vulnerable. Bruno Mars never needed to say his mother's name out loud for her presence to be felt. It was there in the way he respected musicians around him, in how he spoke about roots and heritage, in the humility he carried despite his global success. Bernadette Hernandez had raised him not only to be talented, but to be grounded, to remember where he came from, no matter how far he went. Long before fame, Bernadette taught her son that music was not about perfection. It was about honesty. It was about feeling. It was about connection. And perhaps that is why Bruno's music continues to resonate across cultures, languages, and generations. Because at its core, it is human. It is real. It is born from love and loss. Friends recall that Bernadette was the kind of mother who believed fiercely in her children, even when the world offered doubt. She celebrated small victories as passionately as big ones. When Bruno struggled, she reminded him that setbacks were part of the journey, not signs to stop, but reasons to push forward. That lesson stayed with him. After her passing, there were moments when Bruno considered stepping away, when the weight of success felt meaningless without the one person he wanted to share it with. But he didn't. because deep down, he knew what his mother would have wanted. She would have wanted him to sing, to dance, to stand tall, to live. And so he did. In interviews years later, when asked about his inspiration, Bruno's answers often circled back to family, to roots, to love. And when his mother was mentioned, his composure often broke. Fame had given him confidence, but it had not taken away his softness. If anything, loss had made him more open, more sensitive to the fragile beauty of life. Bernadette Hernandez may have left this world at 55, but her influence did not end there. It lives on in melodies sung across continents, in crowds united by rhythm, in moments where strangers feel understood by a song. It lives on every time Bruno Mars steps onto a stage and gives everything he has, because that is how he was raised. There is a quiet truth that fans have come to understand. Bruno Mars does not perform for the spotlight. He performs through it, using it as a bridge between past and present, between memory and reality. And somewhere beyond the noise, beyond the cheers, beyond the fame, there is a mother watching her son become exactly who she always believed he could be. Perhaps that is why Bruno Mars continues to move people so deeply. Because his music is not manufactured emotion. It is lived emotion. It is the sound of a boy raised by love, shaped by sacrifice, and forever guided by a mother who taught him that even in pain, beauty can still exist. This is not just a story of how Bruno Mars became a star. This is the story of why he never forgot how to remain human. And as long as his music continues to play, the love of Bernadette Hernandez will never truly fade. It will keep dancing, keep singing, and keep living in every beat of her son's heart.